be here tonight, I don't think. This is Brent, I'm going to wait for it.
Oh, okay, I would love to do that. Oh, no, now. Will said to tell you to go ahead.
Discussion on one hot cookie installing chicken.
Yeah. So that would have got me.
Hey, Will. There you go, Will.
All right. WJ, I'm going to fix this over here to you. It's Brent's card.
I still want to, are you going to be in? I know you were in today, but I was busy today. I still want to run in and talk to you sometime. You want me to call and do an appointment, or let me just call you, or what's the best? I won't waste much. You know, I mean, it won't take long. That's what I'm
Thursday.
That's fine. 5 o'clock Thursday evening. That's fine. 5 o'clock Thursday evening. At the office?
Hey, will you sign this? It's for Danny Brett. I don't think so. He said he wasn't. A little spoiled Brett. He can come here and let us sneeze him. You know? Right. Okay. I got a card here for you, Gary, for Brett. It's in the card.
I don't
Is that right? What is this?
Come short sleeves.
Yeah. I came straight from the softball game.
Huh?
First,
The boys are playing softball?
no, Zoe.
Oh.
First home game tonight. So.
I don't know.
Good thing it's at home. But you're missing all the fun.
I got to watch the first 5 innings. So.
Also not bad.
Sure.
see how y'all are leaving the best for last.
Oh yeah, ¿qué crees? ¿Qué creí? And I'm like, oh my God, it's me. Last week we all went it up on Facebook and that's why the microphones are working so well today.
Yeah, they're fine. Yeah, I wish I was them. They're taken care of. Holy cow.
They are good today, okay? Microphones? Talk? Yeah. Too much, too good. They're listening to my thoughts. They're listening to my thoughts today. You want to be on the board of directors?
Hey, Barb,
Yes.
I put a card there for Danny Bratton.
Okay, thank
You
you.
could just sign it whenever.
I will. I don't know that he'll be here.
I don't think he will be, but
I think they had some kind of grandkid thing, game, or that was his excuse. I don't know which.
well, that's fine. I just want to let you know it's sitting there. Alderman Urbis told me he would be here, but he'd be just a few more minutes, so I'm going to wait for him to arrive before I get underway here. Just a couple more minutes, and if he's not here, then we'll get underway.
I told him no. If you have anything else, somebody know.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, Bill is not going to read with us. Dan has told us that he will be here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
All right, it is a little bit after 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call to order this meeting of the Murphysboro City Council here on Tuesday, April the 27th, 2021. I believe we have Mr. Wes Henson with us here this evening. Ask him to come forward, and he will lead us in an invocation this evening. And ask that everyone please rise.
Will you bow your head as I pray? Dear wise and loving God, I want to thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today for your many and abundant blessings and for life itself. Thank you for the ability that we have to be involved in useful work for the betterment of our community. Bless tonight's agenda, Lord. Grant our mayor and the council the wisdom to hear and the courage to act. May the discussions be fruitful, the results further the common good, and we pray confident in your goodness and your love. Amen.
Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Wes. Clerk Hunziker, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Hughes. Here. Alderman Curry-Witzman. Alderman Brown.
Here.
Alderman McComb.
Here.
Alderman Urbis. Just put he'll be late. Alderman Bratton. Alderman Bastian.
Here.
Alderman Campos.
Here.
Alderman Pittman.
Here.
Mayor Stevens.
Here. All right, up first we have on our agenda this evening the consideration of council minutes from April the 13th, 2021. I'd entertain any questions or amendments to the minutes at this time. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion I heard from Mr. McComb, I believe a second from Mr. Brown. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, and just let the record show that that includes the public hearing minutes as well from the last meeting. We have the accounts payable registers here this evening for review as well. Entertain any questions on the bills. And of course, we missed Mr. Bratton already.
Oh, yeah.
All right, if there's no questions on the bills, do we have a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That takes us into our regular committee and commission reports. Up first, we have Budget and Finance chaired by W.J. Pitt. W.J.
Thank you, Mayor. Under old business, we have consideration of extending the prohibition of adult-use cannabis establishments. So I talked to Richard today that a temporary prohibition will expire on May the 12th. That ordinance is supposed to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals first on May 18th, and then will come back to us. So we need to, if we so inclined, extend that temporary prohibition. Mine would say I would make a motion that we extend it until June 30th, pending the vote on that ordinance once it comes back from the Zoning Board of Appeals.
So moved. I would second that.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. For new business, we have presentation of financial reports by Scott Evans, Budget Officer. Scott?
Thank you, WJ. Well, I just have one paper with two sides tonight, so this is a tax season report tonight. The state income tax for the month, very good month again. April was $98,178, blowing the monthly average for April way out of the water, so that was a nice thing to have happen, and so far all four of those have been very good numbers this year so far. So second only to our sales tax is this income tax, so it's a big number every year. So it's good to see that's on track. On the flip side of the report, I haven't done this report yet this year. Of course, I did last year, but this is the healthcare report showing where our healthcare dollars are going through the first 3 months. And essentially through 3 months, general fund has spent $129,000 and change on the various healthcare components, and water sewer has spent $24,321. And we did have a little bit higher usage than expected in March on the HRAs, which is, if you'll remember, that is our portion that we pay out of pocket trying to help control the cost of the premiums. We agreed to take on larger chunks of those small dollars. So that was a little higher than we expected, but that's happened before. It's year to date through the 3 months, we haven't really had exorbitant claims on the HRA front. So, and if you extrapolate the first 3 months, which is kind of hard to do, but just to give you a ballpark, we're still, if that trend would continue that we've had the first 3 months, we're going to be within budget, both on general fund and water sewer. So it's always nice to see that we're holding the line on this cost because, as I've said many times, after the salaries and the various benefit costs related to salaries, healthcare is the second biggest piece of that puzzle. So it's a huge number. So it's always nice when the plan we have in place is working and containing costs. So that's all I had tonight. Any questions on these two reports or anything?
I don't have any questions, Scott. Just appreciate your work as always.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, next item under new business is consideration of TIF ordinance and agreement 1416 Walnut Street. So we voted to take the recommendation from Moran Group last meeting. This would just be to finalize that ordinance and agreement. So I'd entertain a motion to consider that ordinance and agreement.
I would like to move the motion to accept the agreement, the TIF agreement with Stephanie Hanson for the...
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is consideration of implementing a food truck license. We do have a permit application that was laid out for us at the tables here tonight. I don't know, Will, is this something that you had put on there?
A conversation that I'd had with Leslie McComb, who handles most of our licensing day-to-day, several months ago, surrounded this particular topic. Leslie, do you want to speak to how you sort of put this together and some of the research that you did to do so?
Basically, we have permits and applications, license for just about everything within the city. The food truck license we don't have, and so it's something Will and I talked about it. It's been quite a while. I've had it sitting on my desk, and I just recently had some time to do some research. I built Carbondale ordinance, Mount Vernon, and so I kind of just drafted this. Basically, we want the council to entertain the idea for us to move forward with coming up with, something to put in with our license ordinance for the food trucks.
So they would buy the license one time a year and be able to come anytime throughout the year?
Like our regular license, like the liquor, the banking, the gas station, those run from May 1st to April 30th. And it would be prorated. We don't prorate the peddler's permit. So I put that in there as well. Of course, this is just kind of a draft, something that I played with and pull a little information from some of the other applications that we have. So anything can be changed, but it also ensures that we're getting sales tax money. And then that's something that Scott and I talked about with different things. And when Joni Hillerstein was still with the Department of Revenue, she would call me quite often about different places that, if they're in from another county and they're not changing their red one to our location, we're not getting a sales tax.
How would this affect, like, events like Apple Festival and all the...
That is something that we will have to figure out. So it's just kind of a start, if the council's okay for us to move forward with it, I would work with Richard, trying to come up with something for this. That Will and I discussed that earlier with Apple Festival. I don't know what they pay to set up there or how. That would have to be figured out. There's still some details that need to be ironed out.
Anybody have any questions about the application or?
Ms. Campos?
Thank you. I don't know, maybe an idea, but to Apple Festival, if we're going to do these food trucks, that I think is a wonderful idea, for Apple Festival, maybe we just can charge one fee, and they can do their deal, a package deal for them, like we do with the parking lot. But there is also something else that I have seen at different places that I have been at, and is that they get the food trucks into a big parking place, let's say where the police department parking place, the one that we use, and then the people just go to one side instead of being all over town with traffic and everything. So they can do it. We can say this is the parking place for the food trucks. And, it will fit with order a little bit. They will have their license and it's one location. So things will fluid, and that's my 2 cents on this. I love the idea, and I have been in those parks, and they are amazing.
Yeah, the other thing that I thought we might want to consider when thinking about this is, do we want to look at a food truck that is from 17th Street or Pat's, or a place that has a brick and mortar presence in town, differently than we want to look at a food truck that's here from West Frankfort or name any other place, because of just the difference in the way that they are already contributing to.
I mean, do we have a restaurant license, currently?
No, we don't. So.
We don't have any kind of business.
Right,
standard
business licensing.
like most places
That's what I
do.
thought.
I mean, that's something that we could work on that as well.
I mean,
And it's also
I wasn't suggesting that by any means. Don't stick that on me.
It also helps with, we can list those on our website as well. I know we've had people call before, and there's places we've never heard of that might be a business in town.
Right.
Well, it's something for consideration. Ms. Hughes?
I actually think it's great consideration. You and I have worked over a period of years on permits and fees for permits, and have put a lot of work into that. I don't know why we never thought of this before, if you want to know the truth. But now, do they have to have I know to go door to door, there has to be a peddler's permit. Now, if someone just comes in now, is there any kind of permit that they have to get? Like years ago when we had the hot dog lady, did she have to get any kind of permit to do that? We had nothing whatsoever. And there was something with ordinance about being on private land versus public land. At one point, we were, like when Joni was here for a long time, there was some problems. Did that have anything to do with permits?
I'm not really sure. I don't remember that specific scenario.
No, and I remember that. I can't remember how she was set up at.
It was, I do, it was right there by the Murphy Pride. It was right by Murphy Pride.
Extended period of time.
And that was, is there any length of time now that they have? Okay.
And then we would also have to look at, Kilby's kind of has theirs set.
Yeah.
Big Buddy Friars, I know that they.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like permanent. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely things we would have to iron out before.
So what are you really asking us to do tonight?
If you guys are okay with us moving forward before we put much work into it, have Richard know that you guys are going to entertain and idea of moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Do you need a motion for that, or can we just,
Is there anybody opposed to moving forward with some sort of license for food trucks?
I'm not necessarily opposed, but I do want to make sure that we limit the scope of
I don't want to discourage people from coming.
I don't either.
And maybe we look at something for somebody who only comes a couple times a year, doing a daily permit that's reasonably priced, something like that. So, I mean, if we do that and make the annual one, a discount to that, I would think.
I agree.
Nothing that's not, it's not like it's unreasonable, so.
And I don't want to discourage, Kilby's, for example, that is a quotes food truck, but he's in a pretty permanent situation there, I think.
Yeah, I don't think that was discouraged.
Well, really, what we're talking about here is sales tax revenue. Some of these folks that are more rooted in the community are doing
it anyway.
what they ought to do.
Anyway.
And I think that the more transient people, if we're going to have like a food truck festival or something here, which I know some people with Relay for Life have talked about trying to do, then maybe we ought to try to, make sure that the folks coming in and out are, we're doing this in a way that's slightly more organized than what we're doing now. That's my, because what are we really trying to accomplish? Because we haven't had anybody come and say these wild food trucks are unregulated and it's a nuisance to society. But at the same time, I think there are situations where this could be helpful.
Mayor?
Ms. Campos.
Yeah, thank you. This is in relationship with, we can have like brain freeze. Sorry. But we can have different type of licenses per day, per week, or per year, something like that. And food truck festival, also, there can be another specialized license. But about the people who have their food truck on their private property, still a business.
Right.
Well,
No, I agree with that.
Most of the
Yeah.
food trucks will go on, somebody's private property, most of the time.
So it's still a business, it's still taxes and so forth. So because you are in a private location, doesn't exempt you for being licensed to conduct business. And that is my humble opinion.
Okay. John?
Right, so like the big Muddy Friars, they don't have anything special. They have a restaurant license, so.
They would be, they would have to have a permit from the health department and
Right.
inspection and all that.
That's it.
Put that on the application, even if it's a have to have, and I know the fire chief wants to be able to do inspections on their end as well. But we don't, they can come in and we don't do background checks.
Nothing.
It could be a security issue as well as far as their peddler's permit, we require a background check for that.
Well, I know Crimson
And that would be more the out-of-town people when
Right.
they come in, maybe the different festivals in town.
Yeah, this is sort of looking at an annual one, but I think we want to look at something shorter
But
term.
This application could still be used for like a special event, if there's a 3-day festival going on and somebody's coming in, we could have we do a special event liquor license for things like that, so we could have a special event food.
So like 4th of July in the park, there used to be, I guess sometimes there still is, we don't license them at all? They just have to get a permit from the health department?
I don't know, well, the food trucks, yeah.
Yeah.
If there's a good food. The health department, whoever hosts the event will usually put in a permit to the health, or application to the health department, and then they'll come out and do a site inspection on everything. That's how we do it, like at community night out, we would fill that out, and then anybody that's doing food there, they would come and check that.
Yeah, we used to do with Crimson Express, where we do a day or two somewhere. Well, I'm in favor of
Great
licensing them.
thinking.
Well, I think if you guys had ideas or questions, let me just shoot an email, because this isn't gonna be on the agenda for next council, we'll be ready to go. It'll entail a little time to, everything.
So I guess we are saying that it's okay to put some time and effort into this? Okay.
Great thinking, Leslie.
All right, is there any public comment under Budget and Finance? Hearing none, we can move out of Budget and Finance.
Thank you very much, WJ. That takes us to Building and Grounds, chaired by Gary McComb. Gary?
We'll make this quick and sweet. No old business, no new business, any public comment on building and ground. Here none, we can move on, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman McComb. That takes us to Community Relations, chaired by Alderman John Urbis. John?
Thank you, Mayor. We have no old business. We have like 3 items of new business. Update on farmers market. Is that You can update us?
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that the farmers market is getting ready to start up again. Jessica Grammer, who had been one of the organizers, has decided to step back from that. There are some new folks that are stepping up to reorganize it. I'm trying to think when their opening day is. I should have wrote myself a note when that's going to be. But I know that they have a little bit of money in an account that they closed out and brought to the city today. It was about $1,000 that they had sitting there over the course of several years. I'm not exactly sure where those funds came from, if they were from vendor fees or whatnot, but I'm just thankful that the farmers market is going to be back up and running again soon. And I don't know, do we have a representative here from that group this evening? Just double checking to make sure I'm not overlooking somebody. Yeah, that's all I had.
Do you have any idea, you said you didn't know the date, but would they do it like on the Tuesday evening again, or Tuesday day, or do you have any idea of the day of the week?
They're going to continue with the Saturday mornings.
Saturday mornings?
That they had been doing,
Yeah,
and
okay.
they'll be, using Chestnut Street.
Good.
There in that block in front of Bruce Brothers.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
All right, then we have consideration of requests for street closures from the class of 2001 reunion, September 24th and 5th, it says in the letter.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No? All right, that passes. And then we have a request from the Park District. Going to do another event behind the library, similar to what they did this summer, I believe, kind of a drive-through.
They did this event last year. It was very successful.
I'm glad they're doing it again. I would move that we approve that.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No? All right, that passes. Thank you. Any public comment on
Mr.
community
McCall?
relations?
The Masons are wanting to get a street closure. I told him I don't know if he got a hold of Sandra or not, but it's going to be open. They're behind the city building.
Uh-huh.
And they're wanting a street closure. I think it was on a Saturday in July sometime, and I told him to get a hold of you and Sandra and check all the dates.
Okay.
So it's 150 year or something, but he said he wanted to invite everybody from the city council and stuff to be there. I just happened to think about it. I talked to him out in the parking lot the other day.
All right, so the Masons are requesting a street closure, and hopefully we'll get that date from them, and we'll get it on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Who's the
Leslie, could you make a
master
note
now?
of that to follow up?
He called, I think I talked to him last week, it was last week. And I think he's going to try to get everything in for the May 12th meeting and come in attend.
Okay, great.
Who's the master now?
I do not know.
Who did you talk to, Gary?
Huh?
Who's the master that you talked to?
I don't know. He lives out on Dead Man's Curve off of Route 13 there.
Oh, okay,
So he's been here 8 years.
okay.
He's their overall that stuff.
How have I lived in the Southern Illinois for 40 years, and I don't know where Dead Man's Curve is?
I can't believe you don't know that.
You're still alive, aren't you?
Chautauqua,
Is it? I know where Buffalo Curve is, south of Pinckneyville, but
Chautauqua Curve, but
it's Pump House Road.
yeah, they used to
Okay.
go at Dead Man's Curve.
The more you know.
Gary, that dates
That's
you.
when Carrie's was open.
Oh, okay. All right.
Gary, that dates you, you know that.
Yeah.
That's why the mayor doesn't know it.
Right.
Hadn't heard that one either.
All right.
Any other public
I
comment?
knew where it was.
We move out of community relations. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. That takes us to public improvement chaired by Mike Bastian. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. We have no old business and we have no new business to discuss. Do we have any public comment? With that, with hearing none, we can move into Public Works, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Public Works chaired by Dan Bratton. Obviously, he's not here this evening, and so I'll handle these items. We have no old business. Under new business, we have discussion regarding the oil and chip program for 2021. Mr. Sheffer, I don't know if you want to speak to this at all. I think the real question here is, do we want to approach the alleys? Do we not want to do an oil and chip program? Do we want to focus on streets? What do we want to do, Ms. Campos?
Yeah, before we do any alley, I know the people but I think it's more important to fix our streets. They have more people driving through them than an alley. And I have been requesting 15th Street I think the town have more needs than our alleys. So before we all and chip any alley, I would like to have our streets fixed.
All right. Mr. Bastian, did you have something?
Yeah, well, and I have to agree with her, but there's a lot of alleys that they're getting bad. We've skipped it before, and a lot of people use the alleys as well, and they do drive the alleys to get to their residence, and that's where they park their cars. So
I understand, but we have streets that take people to places, homes, jobs.
Well, I get that.
Alleys, we take them, to park, and it is more traffic on the streets that we have on the alleys.
but maybe we could come up with a happy medium or something out. I don't know. That's just my thought. So.
Okay. Other thoughts? Mr. McComb?
Yeah, I think Darren probably knows several alleys and stuff that needs to be oil and chip. I think he's probably got a list someplace that maybe next meeting he could bring into us, because you've got to oil and chip these alleys. There's not going to be nothing left of them with these garbage trucks.
I don't mind, Darren, if you have some that you think are of particular concern, if you could bring a list to us of those for us to consider, because I tend to agree with Gloria that the streets are the primary priority. I think that's what the citizens generally think of when they think about what we're taking care of with our motor fuel tax money. It's not that we shouldn't make sure that some of the worst alleys aren't being taken care of, but I think maybe we could do a little bit of both.
I'd like to see that happen,
So
to do some of both.
It probably takes Darren, on the average, 2 or 3 weeks to get ready for oil and chip. Or
well, typically we do that in September.
about a month and a half. Yeah. And that's just doing a few spots.
Has that been typically in October? I'm sorry, Gary, I didn't mean to.
No, that's fine.
It should be done earlier than it usually is. What happens is you delay when you get done. You get in October, you got leaves falling, there's all kinds of problems. So earlier we can get some resolution on it better.
So
I know before we've always done quadrants. Broke the city up into 4 quadrants, and I think typically spent $50,000 on oil and sugar. But I think last time we looked at this, Derek put it together, and the council put it together. We did get prices on all those, so something ready to have.
okay. Well, let's get that list for the next meeting, and then we can give this a more full consideration. Any other comment on it? All right, that takes us to discussion regarding the resurfacing of Venture Lane. I know that Mr. Dave Murray is with us this evening. Dave, would you mind coming up to the podium? I'll ask him to fill in a few blanks for us. I had this put on the agenda this evening because, as you likely remember, I don't know, how long ago was it, Dave, that we built that? It was last year sometime.
Yeah, that would have been, I think we did that in maybe February of
2020?
Yeah, 2020.
And so, the Samron has made an investment in the asphalt plant there, and we've seen growth in the industrial park to the point where we don't have any more spaces for new folks to relocate there, or to locate there, really. And the road that was built is certainly functioning, but I have received a multitude of complaints, primarily from Big Money Brewing, but not only from them, about the dust that is created by the truck traffic on what essentially is a rock road going to and out of the asphalt plant. And so I think that it would be a good idea for us to consider resurfacing this. And Dave, I know you came to me back in February, and I think some things fell through the cracks, but right now you've got a certain mix that is going to be more affordable than if we would do this otherwise. Can you talk about that?
Yes, sir. So we're doing a project in Hamilton County where they're using an experimental mix that has a recycled tire in the surface mix. That it's basically a grade bump on the oil, and it makes it a stiffer mix. And it's the first time we've ran it. It's the first time it's been done in this area. And we have allotted in our contract with them to do a test run through our plant and a test run at somewhere on either our shop or our asphalt plant somewhere to work with the mix before we start paving and hauling it to Hamilton County. And we're going to do that. We were going to do it later this week. With the rain that's coming in tomorrow and Thursday, it's probably going to be mid to late next week. And if you guys are, if the city would like to use that mix on Venture Lane, then we could discount this proposal $10,000, because that's what we're going to spend doing the sample run on our own lot anyway.
And the proposal was at what, 57,000?
Yes.
So it would be 47,000?
47,450, yeah.
Okay. And do you think that this test strip that you're wanting to run is going to be quality? I mean, obviously you test things because you want to make sure they're all right.
Sure. Yeah, no, we anticipate that it will. We don't have any reason to believe it won't. It's the first time we've used this product. It's basically an admixture that we inject into our mixer, so we want to run it through our plant, make sure our plant doesn't have any issues with it, and do a sample pave close to our plant so that we're not trying to do it an hour and a half away. So it's the first time we've done it, but we don't anticipate any issues with it. We're getting ready to pave 10,000 tons of it on a county highway in Hamilton County. So.
Now, one of the problems I've got here currently is that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 members of the city council here, and this project would exceed the number to have to go out to bid on without having at least 8 votes to waive competitive bidding on a project. So I had this put on the agenda, but I don't even know if I can act on it this evening, even if everybody would agree that they wanted to do it, and I'm not saying they would. I may not have enough votes to do it anyway. Ed, am I talking accurately here?
Yes, but there is another provision in the code that when you have a specific project that has elements in it that you could not bid this competitively, then you can do it without a supermajority. And this is a situation here that nobody else is other than like doing this. If we're going to do this, there isn't anywhere else to. I don't know who our competitive bidders would be.
With this mix, with being able to offer this discount, I mean, this is a one-time shot on this, because we're putting down binder on that project right now, and as soon as we get done with the binder, we're going to move straight to the surface. So, I mean, I would agree with that, Ed.
I think because of the special nature of the project that we can do that.
Questions from the council?
Yes, Mayor, I have a couple.
Yes, Ms. Hughes.
Can you tell me, is this process being used elsewhere?
It's not anywhere in the state. No, it's
I know, but elsewhere,
yeah,
period.
it's been used throughout the world.
And during the studies on it, how has it, I keep going back to 20th Street.
Yeah.
Remember, that was a nightmare. It was a new thing or something. Anyway, I apologize.
Sure.
I regress. Anyway, and in your studies of it, has this been a good product? I imagine it is, or you wouldn't be trying to do it here, but.
Sure. I haven't done studies on it. I'll be honest with you. The Hamilton County engineer is the one that has spearheaded using this as an experimental
And he is asking
option.
for that specifically?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
he
it
wants-
wasn't that you said, we have this
No.
new thing and we can do this for you?
No,
It was they asked for it, so they knew something about it, obviously.
Yes, he is doing it as an experimental feature. He's trying to get IDOT to buy off on it so that he can use future MFT funds to do this type of product that's currently not in the IDOT specifications.
Okay.
That's his reason for doing it.
All right.
We were the successful contractor.
Have you
so-
played with it anywhere, around the plant or anything?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
No, it takes a special piece of equipment that we have to bring in that has to sit at our plant to inject this material into the mixer drum when we're making it. So
Okay.
we're not going to start that until probably next week now.
Okay.
So are you saying then that this mix wouldn't be motor fuel tax fund eligible if the city were to move forward? We couldn't use those funds? That's your understanding?
I don't know exactly how that works, Will, to be honest with you.
Okay.
This is not a standard IDOT mix design that's IDOT approved.
But it is interstate rated, is what you told me before, I think.
Yeah, basically what this is, the little bit I know about it is, there's different grades of asphalt. The PG76 is the polymer asphalt that you typically see used in interstate applications, and then the step below that is your PG64, which is more of the city streets, less traffic areas, commercial parking lots, etc. By adding this recycled tire into the mix, it effectively takes the 64 oil that we're using in the mix and steps it up to a 76 and makes it a stiffer mix.
Okay.
And it's a green, it's recycled tire, so there's that element to it. It's been used, I don't want to pretend to be an expert on it, but it's been used throughout the world, I think, for some time now, but I think it's slow to make its way into some of the DOTs, and that's part of what this process is. So.
Is there any kind of warranty kind of thing? And I know that's probably a poor terminology. Is there any way that we're protected if this falls apart?
No, I guess. I don't know. I mean,
it seems like it's a good question.
For the way that I approach this is, it's an opportunity for the city to get this road paved for probably 30-40% cheaper than it would be if it, under normal circumstances. And so I
understand it's 47K versus 57. I'm not questioning that whatsoever.
Right.
I just it's a legitimate question.
Absolutely. No, I get it. I get it.
And I thank you for trying to answer it.
Well, I mean, we are, we do quality work and stand behind our work, and if it was something that was just falling apart out there, we're not going to leave that. I mean, we're not that type of company, but I'm not an advocate for this mix. I have no, I'm not trying to sell this mix. I have nothing to gain from this. It's just it's an opportunity for the city to save some money.
Well, and if the road falls apart, the primary victim of that situation is going to be you.
Sure, exactly. And the binder course that we're putting, what we've proposed is a 2.5-inch binder, which would be IDOT approved B90 mix. And then the surface would be 1.5 inch thick surface on top of that. That's where this recycled rubber would come into play at.
Scott Evans, thoughts?
It probably is not a big deal, but it may not be eligible for MFT. But in my mind, I'm thinking the general fund would be a better place anyway, because we wouldn't have to do the usual resolutions. And plus, we've got a lot of money earmarked for the 7th Street project at this point with MFT. So, and general fund right now is running very well. We have reserves. We're doing better than normal on our revenue versus budget. So far, knock on wood, the expenses are holding the line. So, I mean, I think that would be the place to do it if we were going to do it.
Well, and I think one other thing to consider is the fact that we are going to be doing 7th Street, and if we had a brand-new concrete 7th Street, and you've got a edge surface there going off onto what essentially is a gravel road, that edge is going to pretty quickly become gravel itself if we don't have something running up to it that is at least of a higher quality than what we have now. So just another thought on the situation.
I'd make a motion to do it.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
I'm going to sustain. Well, I'm not sure on this mix, or, you know what we got into on 20th Street with the line
I know,
on it.
that's my scary part of it.
Well, I think,
Nothing against you guys, but
Sure.
the line, I've been in business a long time, and 20th Street didn't turn out too well, you know.
well, and 20th was more of a thin, like oil coating a sealer that they put on there. This would be a heavier product than that, is my
Yeah,
understanding.
this is going to be an asphalt surface that if it goes the way we anticipate, you're not going to tell a difference by looking at it. You
Okay.
know, it's 95% of the ingredients in it are the same thing that we put in all of the asphalt mix. So
So that's a guarantee it won't look like 20th Street, right?
no guarantees.
All right, well, show Mr. McComb, did you say abstain, Gary? Okay, all right. All right, Dave, thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, that takes consideration of motor fuel resolution here for the 7th Street widening project construction phase. Mr. Sheffer, do you want to tell me all about it?
And keep in mind, I think I sent out an update on this project. It is still scheduled to bid June 11th, so this just says with any MFT project that you do a resolution that appropriates the money. This is all based on estimates at this time, so it could be lower, could be a little higher. So I do know we've got 200,000 in there. IDOT set up 200,000 for construction engineering. I don't think that's, we're going to be anywhere close to that, so less. So unless you were thinking higher, so.
Yeah, okay.
So this just appropriates that money out of your MFT account, 600,000. I think with the, as they call the RBI, the Rebuild Illinois money that has been coming into the city, I think you've got 3 payments out of 6. Is going to amount to about a little over 525,000. So I think we've already tried to dedicate that money to this project.
Thank you, Mr. Sheffer. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there any public comment on items of Public Works? Mr. Gladden.
We can all chuckle about 20th Street, but Mayor and I don't live on 20th Street, and it is a mess to this day. This summer, it will get messier, I'm sure.
You're right.
We're facing eventually a serious situation with that project. And I just want to raise the flag.
No, it's a fair comment, definitely. And I'll make a note of it. Any other public comment on Public Works? Yes, Mr. Murray.
I don't know if the council's aware, but, last year we paved on our own dollar the city's road, Terry Lane, from Heinz Oil's gate on down to Future Lane, which was falling apart terribly. It wouldn't have lasted through the winter. And I don't know what we spent on that, but I think it was about $25,000 of mix that we made and paved and did, for the city. I just, we're not doing this to try to, for our own good. It's just an opportunity to help the city on.
No, well, we appreciate the
Yeah, sure.
collaborative effort between your group and the city, definitely. All right, if there's no other public comment under Public Works, we'll come out of there and go to Public Safety, chaired by Russell Brown. Russell?
Okay, we got one thing on the old business. Consideration of declaring vehicle as surplus. Got a 2006 Ford and a 2011 Ford.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are we going to auction these vehicles, Chief, or what are we going to do with these?
Yes, they'll go to Candy's for auctions around the 4th or 5th of June, whichever day that auction falls on.
Thank you.
That's all we have. We don't have anything on the new business. Any public comment? If not, we'll come out and go into personnel.
Thank you, Alderman Brown. That takes us to personnel chaired by Ms. Barbara Hughes. Barb?
Thank you, Mayor. There's no old business, no new business, and is there public comment on personnel? Hearing none, we can come out of there, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Barb. Under the mayor's report, I have a couple of items here, but before I get into those, just an informational thing, I assume that everybody knows at this point, but Alderman Pearson did submit his resignation to me via a letter that was turned in at the Dom Building earlier this week, or it was last week, actually. And before the meeting began, I know that Lisa Bird did hand out a packet of information regarding her interest in the appointment, and so I would encourage the members of the council to review that. Appointees to the city council are recommended by the mayor with the approval of at least, I suppose, whatever the simple majority of the council would be. And so I'll be looking at that information, and I appreciate the very professional package of information that Ms. Bird turned in, showing the amount of support that she has. And so she'll definitely be getting very strong consideration. We obviously can't act on it tonight because I don't have anything on the agenda in that regard. Anybody want to comment on that information?
It's a pretty complete application. And so do we have somebody else, someone else reaching out to interest?
Well, I did have another person reach out to me via email, and I meant to give them a call today, but I haven't, although I did notice that that particular person who had expressed interest also has signed Ms. Bird's petition for the position. So I'm going to want to follow up on that and make sure that I don't have my, make sure there's not more than one person named that name in Murphysboro, which I don't think there is. But anyway, that is that. The next item we have here is discussion regarding the liquor license renewal at 1501 Walnut Street. I may go to Leslie McComb to help me on this. 1501 Walnut Street is known as Power Gas. That location, I've received a number of complaints over the years, particularly from the property owner directly to the west. I was talking with Ms. McComb the other day, and she mentioned to me that it is always quite the struggle to get them to pay the various taxes and things that they are supposed to be paying to the city. Leslie, can you remind me specifically which ones those were?
It's the gas tax.
The gas tax.
The gas tax.
So the gas tax there that they are supposed to be collecting and then ultimately remitting back to the city, that isn't happening on a regular basis. I have talked to the city attorney about this location in the past, and there's always been a question as to whether or not I can pull their liquor license if they are not violating some portion of the liquor code. I personally would like to pull their liquor license, but I'm not going to do things just because I'd like to do them. I need to have the proper footing to be able to do it. Ed, do you have any comment on my last portion of that monologue?
Mayor, I really have to just repeat what Richard told me today about this issue. We haven't discussed it much length. I think he's right. We have to have very specific
Ed, if you don't mind, could you come up to the podium? It would just help everybody to facilitate the conversation. Thank you.
And I did talk about this a little bit today. His position is that we have to have very specific evidentiary proof of incidents. You can't, to not renew a liquor license is the same thing as to deny or to revoke a liquor license. So we have to have the same grounds to not renew a liquor license as we would have to revoke one midterm. Those things go to hearing. There are all these evidentiary hearings. We have to have facts. We have to have witnesses. And generally speaking, the behaviors have to be violations of the liquor code.
And I understand a lot of this are nuisance violations and behavior violations, but they don't relate to after hours or underage sales or those type of things. So we have to be very careful using other behaviors as a basis to deny a liquor license. We might have a basis to shut them down for another reason. We could probably shut them down for not paying their taxes, but we can't just deny their liquor license.
I wanted you to just go on record and get that, on record. I think we talked about it in the past privately, but I know that ultimately I'm going to get continual complaints about that location, and one of the things that is often asked is, well, why don't you just pull their liquor license? Well, it's not quite that easy to do.
You're
perhaps
entirely correct.
If I wanted to operate outside the law, I could, but I attempt not to do that on purpose.
If we're having a lot of incidences, and one thing that might be done is we maybe should try to have more specific response to some of those complaints and gather names and phone numbers and build the record so that we have a lot of bad behaviors at this spot and we can respond on those as opposed to just trying to use a liquor code.
Thank you, Mr. Heller. Appreciate that. Any questions on that item? Mr.
Ed, is there some penalty for not paying the gas tax that we can?
That's what I was.
I think there is, but
It's very minimal, and they sell very little gas. I mean, they pay us about maybe $40, $50 a month. So we're going to turn it. I want to say it's not like a 4%, maybe 2% maybe. I mean,
It's pretty meager.
Yeah, and especially as low as their sales are.
And do you think those sales are accurate? And is there any way of testing that?
I mean, those pumps are supposed to be, weighted and measured by the Bureau of Weights and Measures or
I
whatever.
know they only
see.
have like 2 pumps there now.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the gallons they sell monthly is very low.
How long these people owned it here, Will?
At least 3 or 4 years.
They weren't the ones that got caught selling the drugs out from under the counter?
That's news to me, Gary.
I think they were related.
I was in there and they sold it right in front of me. Chief Falk was chief then, and I turned it into him, and they busted him for it.
Mr. Brown?
I think they were related to the people that had the one at 6th and Walnut Street. We had a problem with them, yeah.
Well,
they were doing the same thing down there.
Mr. Bastian?
No, to somebody, I get a lot of calls on that too. It was brought to my attention, isn't there a church right behind it? Is it so far away from a church?
It is, and I would have to review that to see if it is within the distances there. I believe the last time, Mr. Mills, did I have you measure that?
Did they? That was a question asked me, I didn't know.
I'm thinking that it was a little closer than the ordinance says it can be. I think that was like about out of two, but I would have to measure.
They may have grandfathered into that somehow too. That station's been there for a long time. I don't know if those owners have been there for a long time.
Well,
Your ordinance does state that you have to be a Jackson County resident, or not Jackson County resident, United States citizen, to have a liquor license. I don't know what their status is, but I know when they applied, we looked at that license and they weren't at that time.
yeah, I know that their residents, I believe, was New Jersey. So anyway, I'm going to continue to look at this. I'm going to get with Mr. Bills, and I'm going to review that distance from the church. Mike, I'm glad you reminded me of that, because this particular location has been a real nuisance in some ways. And so I want to, whatever we do, I want to make sure I do it transparently as I possibly can, and in the light of day in front of the council and everybody else. So any other questions on that? I don't have anything else on it. All right, that comes to the Sunset Concerts. I noticed the other day that Carterville is hosting theirs, I believe, next month and in June. I know that Carbondale canceled theirs, but they tend to spend a lot more time in preparation. It would seem to me that with the state fairs being held in August, we should probably be okay having our sunset concerts in August like we've had in years past, and if nobody's got any issues with that, then I will move forward with trying to get that coordinated. It's a budgeted expense.
Absolutely.
I will do it.
Go for
Okay.
it. Yep.
Great.
All right, well, I will do so. All right, that is everything that I have. I want to give, Lisa Bird, do you want to speak to the council at all regarding?
Pretty much I did everything that I stated inside the package. I'm just very interested in trying to help Murphysboro move forward. I've been a resident 30 years in my in that ward, lifelong in Murphysboro. I have a lot of budgeting, business, and oil experience, and I'm sure that would be helpful as well as council.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, that takes me to council member request. I'll start with Ms. Hughes.
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Brown?
Did Joe say when they're going to open up the hotel?
I got a call from the manager of the Sparta Hotel today, and he said that Joe wants to open it tomorrow if he could, but they are hung up by Frontier Communications, who is the only thing left. They've got to get their telephone system in, and they have not arrived, and I actually spent about an hour today bugging people with Frontier, asking them to focus their attention there if possible. So the latest drop dead date is May 20th. That is the latest that they say that they will be open.
There was several Frontier trucks pulling out of there on my way home this evening, so.
There was. Well, so my 10 phone calls motivated somebody to go over there. All right.
That's all I had.
Thank you, Russell. Mr. McComb?
Nothing.
Clerk Hunsaker? Alderman Urbis?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Alderman Bastian?
I have nothing this evening.
Alderman Lady Campos?
Nothing tonight, surprise.
Alderman Pittman?
I was asked by a citizen, called me, wanting to get an update on the situation on North 19th with Mr. Cripps. I didn't know if that's something, Ed, you could let us, council, know what's going on with that. I kind of got an update today from Richard, but...
The Zoning Board of Appeals had a hearing on Tuesday night last week.
That's right.
Tuesday night at the Davis McCann Center. That was an evidentiary hearing. After the evidence was presented, the Zoning Board of Appeals voted unanimously to deny their appeal of our order to cease and desist. And so that denial is there. It's in the record now. They have an ability to file for administrative review, meaning they can file a petition to have that reviewed by the circuit court. That would be a non-evidentiary review. They would do that based on the record that we made the other night. A couple key pieces of evidence. Probably the biggest piece of evidence is that Mr. Cripps has informed us that he wanted to run an automobile parts recycling business there. That requires a state license to do that. He does not have a state license. He has never had a state license. There was some interesting comments made by Mr. Cripps about the not having a license. But I think that's a very serious thing, and it was a very serious thing to the board. The entire time he's been there operating, he's not had the license to do so. So he very much falls within our definition of junkyard, and I don't like to stand in public and predict outcomes of later hearings, but I thought we had a pretty good record.
What's the time frame for when it actually will go in front of a judge to?
They have to file for administrative review within 30 days of receiving the formal notice, and the formal notice was signed and I think was mailed out today, or it's being mailed out tomorrow. Leandra has the formal notice back and it'll be mailed out tomorrow.
Okay.
So their 30 days time is going to be 30 days from tomorrow.
Okay, so once if he does apply for that, then how long does it take to get in court?
That's a good question. I've been at this game 48 years, but I've never been asked that one, and I've never been in a position to know the answer to that. I don't know how long the judges will take to do that, but
I mean, is COVID still slowing that process down considerably?
it could. But there won't be any evidence presented. There's no. That's just an arguments case, and primarily a written arguments case. You're not allowed to supplement the record from what we had the other night.
Right.
So, and I think we're in pretty good shape with
So
that.
the judge just essentially reviews what happened at that last appeal and makes a decision.
Has to make sure that the record contains sufficient admissible evidence to justify the action.
Okay.
Ed, did he have an attorney at the hearing the other night?
Yes, he did. And they put on a vigorous defense. I mean, that's, we had to work. We were there we started at 6 o'clock and we didn't get done until 9 o'clock.
Yeah, because they wouldn't get far on the administrative appeal if they didn't have an attorney. So.
Pardon?
They wouldn't get very far on the administrative appeal if they didn't have an attorney.
No. No. Any other?
That's all I have. Thank you, Ed.
Before I go into department head requests, I almost forgot to mention under the mayor's report, I haven't had time to look at it all, but I just want to say thank you to everybody that contributed to the overwhelming amount of stuff that was in my office this morning. Whenever I opened the door, Sandra was standing there, and I thought, why is she so interested in watching me open my office door? And opened it up, and I don't know how many boxes of diapers and wipes and toys and everything else. Having twin boys has been a life-altering experience, and the amount of support that I've gotten from people across this community has just been more than I could ever imagine, and I'm just so very thankful for it. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that in lieu of necessarily, and I'm sure I'll try to thank every one of you individually, but I haven't even had time to go through it all to know what all is even there. So thank you. With that, I will go to department head requests. I'll go to Attorney Heller, Leslie Mulholland, Scott Evans, Harold Sheffer, Chief McBride,
Just want to tell you a little story about small business supporting each other and hometown pride that happened a week or so ago. We had a call on April 15th at about 6:45 in the morning to Kamari's, and the call came in from the mother of the lady that owns Kamari's, said that her daughter had gone down there to start the ovens early for a large order that they had to go out, a special order to the or I call it the boot camp, to the reentry center. She called her mom and said that the place smelled like gas, and then they were disconnected. Her mom called us. We were on scene within 3 minutes, and as soon as my guys arrived, they smelled gas from the outside of the building. Thinking that this lady was inside because they'd been disconnected. Luckily, we had 3 guys on, and 2 of them immediately made entry. It was an IDLH atmosphere, immediately dangerous to life and health. They searched the building quickly, did not find her. She had actually left, and I guess her phone had gone dead or whatever it was. My 3rd guy shut off the gas. They ventilated the building quickly to make it safe. Ameren came in. They red tagged her oven that she had worked on the day before. There was still a problem with the gas valve, and it had put gas in the building, created a dangerous situation. She was going to lose because they red tagged her oven. She could not cook this large order, and she was going to lose the revenue from it and obviously have an upset customer, a big customer. I took it on myself to call Tim Raymond from Wiffle Boys. He's a friend of mine. I know he's all about hometown. He didn't bat an eye, and so he turned his ovens on at 9 o'clock in the morning and told her to bring her stuff down. He baked her pizzas, and she got her order out, and nobody knew the difference between it. So I'm just, if that doesn't scream hometown pride and small business working to help each other, I don't know what does.
Thank you very much for sharing that. I hope that makes it in the paper.
I hope that makes it in the paper.
Chief Ellermeyer. Mr. Lee. Brian Manwaring.
Nothing.
Darren Mills.
I do have something, Mayor.
2-3 meetings ago, I was instructed to put no bus signs up on Watson Road. I was actually contacted today from West Bus Service and from SIU Head Start. Both of them, both companies have one child that lives on that road, and they were wanting some sort of exemption to take that one bus from West Bus Service and one bus from SIU Head Start on the Watson Road.
Well, I don't think we can really deny that request, can we? I think, yeah, certainly. Chief Ellermeyer, I mean, I think obviously you're the branch enforcing that particular provision, and so if we get complaints of a multitude of buses, but I suppose we're going to have to allow that exemption because kids got to get to school.
I would think so.
Okay. Fair enough. If you could pass the word back along to them that we'll have to live with that exemption. All right, Leander Bryant. All right, did I miss anybody? Pat Gladson. Sorry, I thought I'd already said you, Pat. All right, if there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.